Secure access. It's a real challenge, and it's real necessary, especially in facilities that need to be protected from bad guys. Michael, you guys working with the Flora Alliance have developed an authentication system that's really cool, an access system. Why don't you tell us what we're looking at here?
Okay, we have a 4-factor authentication badge that becomes the employee badge and basically work after tackling insider threat. 4-factor authentication comes in the print of the ID itself, comes with a fingerprint authentication, secure element inside, and the location. And this card is basically muted, cannot be cloned. If you lose it, no one can use it. And if you try to scan it without a fingerprint verification, it basically doesn't work. And if I go ahead and scan my finger and it gives me the green light, now I can scan it and it works. So you can use it to badge in, badge out, use it to log into a computer, an application. We know if you have a trend, we build a trend of the behavior of every single personnel, and out of that behavior, if you have any abnormal behavior, it triggers an alarm. If you badge in and you do not get in, that means you open for someone. We basically trigger an alarm. If someone follows you after you badge in, we also trigger an alarm. We mix this solution with camera surveillance, and we get the robust mechanism of the best of the two worlds, basically, in one situated software.
So yeah, you get an alarm, for instance, that one person badged in, but there were two people went in, type of thing.
That's exactly right. They call it the piggybagging. So any kind of piggybagging situations, we alarm for it right away.
And it does more than just once you get in the building, using your beacons, you can kind of track people and assets, right?
We do track people, we do track assets only on facility, on site. Outside, we don't know anything about you, and we don't want to know anything about you. And the tracking mechanism is basically building that kind of trend, that kind of data that we collect is the gold mine for basically building a trend and behavior. And outside of any behavior norms, it will trigger an alarm. For example, if you're an employee in an airport and you're supposed to work in Gate 24 in Terminal 2, and I see you in Terminal 3, well, why are you there? So basically, in TSA, for example, you pass the security, and no one really looks at anything. You're never going to be able to put a security guard on every single door. If you walk inside, no one can know where you are. So basically, these kind of information that we give away now, it will be remarkable to detect if there's any insider threat that we should be aware of.
Well, and you can still, if someone's allowed to bring in a guest, for instance, you can still do that with your system, right?
Yes, if you have an escorting privilege, you can double-click on the button and then scan your badge, and the camera will detect how many people you are able to escort and will not alarm. This is called the false positives. So we take away that kind of false positives. Location also is very valuable when it comes to safety mechanism, because if you push the button for 3 seconds, it's going to generate an SOS with your location. You start moving faster or start running, we're going to get more updated, frequent information of your location to actually send you the help you need right away.
And if there's an emergency or something like that, you know where your personnel are, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is the most important piece of information any kind of first responders would actually want. Talk to any police officer, they tell you the best thing we want to have right away is to know how many people are in and where they are. If in a hostage situation or something like that, we would like to know how many are there.
One of the things that's an exciting application for this is accessibility in mobility, right? Use this as your universal card to get on and off transit, for instance.
You can do that, certainly. We have the secure element here, could be programmed to do anything. We have the NFC functionality and capability that can do a lot of more of that. We actually embed your password now can basically, what we are saying is security and convenience can now mix. Your password that's going to be that long, very much encrypted, system generated, it will be changed every now and then, and we can even make it expire right after the first use, can be done all in one ID. All you need to do is basically authenticate your finger, and we're not sending the template of your finger over as a password, because this is going to be really an insecure thing to do. If any breach would happen. But we actually send an actual password out to keep you logged into your computer, get inside, access a certain application, any of that sort. So it becomes like really essential and very convenient. All you need to do is just authenticate on the card, and you're done.
Yeah, and that fingerprint authentication stays on the card, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right. And now the difference between us and other people, for example, that has scanners at the door, is that you actually have a lot of people, like if you have 10,000 employees, you have 10,000 templates of fingerprints on the door stored somewhere, either at the reader's side or centralized, and that's a big liability. We take that liability away. That's a gold mine for hackers. Right now, it's only one card, one template, one finger on there, and it detects the live finger. Those scanners at the door, if I have like an adhesive kind of template thing and I touch it, I can get that screen protector on my phone to do that job for me, and I scan it, it will let me in. In our case, for example, we detect the live finger, we detect moisture, temperature, and electricity of the live finger for this card to work. You cut my finger, it's not going to work, but luckily we didn't try that.
Now, what happens when it runs out of battery?
Oh, when it runs out of battery completely, all you need to do is to come by the door. It has a wireless charging capability, and the breakthrough is 10 seconds will allow you to have enough juice to basically push the button, authenticate your finger, and allow it to get in. And once you get in, hopefully you have a wire inside that you can actually use to charge.
And it's important to understand that that infrastructure already exists, right?
Yes, we do work with existing infrastructure, such as HID global readers, any reader that supports the NFC capability. We can work with. We are trying to tie our product right now with Genetec software, so we can have one secure software to be used in everywhere. You don't have to juggle between two different systems. So we try to make it very, very convenient to set up environment.
And what are we looking at for cost?
Cost, it can go all the way down between $4 a month to $20 a month, $25 a month, depending on how much the deployment is, how big the facility is, what kind of add-ons they want, how they're going to finance the cards if they want to finance the card, and all these kind of stuff.
And the other cool thing is potentially could be used to authenticate your PC as well, right?
That's exactly what we said about the password. Now it can get into the OS application level, and it can go into either an application level or either an operating system level. So yes, you can do it on an OS and you can do it on an application.
So this is kind of magic. How are you getting the signal from these devices out to where your access system is?
There are two signals that go in. The NFC signal that would be normally transmitted over the readers at the door, and the location signal that would be sent over to LoRa from the beacon. So we have smart beacons and secure beacons that we plug them in a certain places, and then we take that information and the card will transmit it over to LoRa. Or we can have the beacon sometimes transmit it to LoRa.
And LoRa is the unlicensed Internet of Things protocol, right?
That's the ISMB band that's unlicensed. It's 902 to 920 megahertz in the US. 915 is right in the middle frequency. 929, I think, is the range. And it's low power, long range. That's what LoRa stands for.
It's also low power too, right? You don't need a lot of power to get that signal out there?
That's exactly right, and that's a big differentiator between us using LoRa versus GSM, for example, that drains your battery in any kind of transmission.
And then with your beacons, I think you mentioned that those even have battery backup, right?
Oh, for the smart and secure beacons, they do have a battery backup. So in case of a natural disaster, active shooter, someone shuts down power, any of that sort, and someone pushes the button for SOS, we still get their location. And if it's an online cloud solution, then we still get their location frequently, even as they move into the facility.
Yeah, and that is another feature of the card, the fact that it has that SOS feature, right?
That is the safety feature that we implemented. So now this is called the Safety and Security ID, or badge, that should be used by every single employee everywhere.
Excellent. Well, Michael, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.